Okay, so this is another demo of my brass sorting and image classification system to sort brass based on head stamp. So just to set the stage here, what we have on the screen is on the right hand side, we have a stream coming from the widget I made that will mechanically separate and sort brass and take a picture of each head stamp cleanly one at a time. On the left hand side, we have some software I wrote that will do image recognition on these pictures that the system is taking and try to give its best guess of what it is, and then feed it back into the mechanical widget to sort the brass into various buckets based on what the head stamps are. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. Now, this is basically what's going to end up becoming my training module. So you have two different ways of training the system. And to explain what training is, with machine learning and image classification systems, you need to show them a lot of pictures of what you're trying to identify. We're talking hundreds, if not over 1,000, of each item you want it to identify. So got a piece of FCNT brass that popped up right here. This is actually the brass that I have the most of because I bought a couple buckets from a police range, and they like that non-toxic stuff apparently. So anyways, the system's probably seen about 1,000 pictures of FCNT. It's pretty good at identifying. It's probably seen about 600 pictures of FC brass. Pretty good at identifying that too. It's seen about 200 to 300 of RP and 200 to 300 of Winchester. It's so at identifying those, and anything else, it's not so good at identifying. So anyways, the idea here is we got to take a lot of pictures. You know, it's like that old movie with Johnny Five. Need input, need input. So I started up the program on the left here. It wants to ask us what mode we want to run it, pre-sorted or unsorted. So pre-sorted mode would be, I feed it a bucket of all one head stamp of brass, say Winchester, and it just classifies each and every picture as Winchester, saves it as Winchester brass, so that way we can feed it back into the training model later. Now right now I just put a big handful of unsorted brass into the case collator. That's just loading it up into here. Now, all the brass that I'm loading up in here, the system has never seen before, or rather the model has never seen before. So it may have seen FCNT, but it never saw this specific case. So I'm going to go ahead and hit number 1 for unsorted brass. It says FCNT, so if we take a look at it, it gives us its top 5 predictions. So it thinks a 56% chance it's FCNT, a 36% chance it's FC, and then very low percent chances of anything else. And it took about 200 milliseconds to run. Then it finally tells us what its best guess is. So its best guess is FCNT. It's 56% certain. It is correct. Now, the certainty is important because anything with a low certainty is going to get dumped to a mixed brass bucket. It's not going to go into the FCNT bucket or whatever brass it's tagged on. Right now, in my head, I'm thinking that threshold is going to be somewhere in the ballpark of 90 to 95%. So this piece of brass, even though it's right, would go into your mixed batch bucket. So right now, we're in training mode. This is correct. So I have two options. If it's correct, I can just press enter. I don't have to do anything else. It saves this picture, and then this picture can get rerun through the training algorithm at a later time. Or I can press one of these numbers to manually override or exit the application. So this is correct. I'm going to hit enter. Takes another picture. This is FC brass. It's 98% certain it's FC, and it's correct. This would pass our threshold test, and if this was running in production mode, this would go right into the FC bucket. And actually, I do have an output gate set up, and this will actually route it into a different bucket for FC brass. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and we're just going to run through a few of these. So this is another one that's correct. See here, same thing. This is correct. Got a Winchester, barely passes the 90% threshold marker, but it is correct. Got an RP, pretty confident on that one, 99%. Same thing with the FCNT, that's correct again. My expectation is that FC and FCNT brass is going to really know what it's looking at, but anything else, there's a good chance it's going to get it wrong until we get more training in the system. I'm actually really surprised it's got this Tula one right, even though it's a low probability match. The system has probably only seen like 10 pieces of Tula brass so far. I don't run across a lot of it. I'm going relatively slow right now just so y'all can see the screen. Okay, so here's one it got wrong. System hasn't seen a lot of PMC brass. It's probably seen 2 or 3 pieces. Same thing with Pierce brass. It's probably seen 2 or 3 pieces. This is a really low probability match. It thinks 30% is Pierce, 20% that it might be RP, 17% that it might be Gecko, which is another brand it's probably only seen 1 or 2 pieces of, 8% Winchester, 7% Tula, and it took about 173 milliseconds to decide this. So anyways, it's wrong. So I'm not going to hit enter. I'm going to look at what type of brass this is, PMC. I'm going to find PMC on the list, number 12. I'm going to type 12 in down here. What it's going to do is it's going to save this and tag it in the PMC folder instead of putting it with Pierce brass. Okay, here's another FC. It's kind of worn out, but it still was able to figure it out correctly. Another PMC, same thing. It's thinking it's Pierce again. As it sees more of this brass, as it gets better trained, it's going to get more accurate. But because it had that low probability match, it would have just gone into your mixed brass bin. I'll just take care of that in post. So got this spear piece wrong. Same thing like I was saying before. Not a big deal. This is just a training mode right now. Augmented training, if you will. And that's it. We're done. So we have to train an empty system state as well. So it thinks this is spear because I haven't trained a lot of empty system states. So I'm going to hit number 5 to tell it that it's empty. It's going to save that image and tag it. And then I'm going to hit number 24 to stop the program. You hear the motor whine go off. And that's it for